You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump had a tantrum with French president and threw things. Report based on an article by Sarah K. Burris. The empire of Flattery met a volatile man. A brief account. A Wall Street Journal report describes European leaders trying to manage Donald Trump through flattery, concessions, and private warnings as his administration rattled allies with Greenland fixation, trade pressure and erratic behavior. One official summed up the problem bluntly: they were not dealing with a normal administration, but with a single volatile individual. Power sat in one room. The first fact this story forces into view is simple. Institutional power was concentrated in the White House and everyone else was reacting to it. Macron, Starmer, Meloni and Carney were not shaping the agenda. They were trying to survive it. Their article shows Europe as a set of governments improvising around a presidency that had become personal, impulsive and openly transactional. That is the political center of gravity here. Not diplomacy, not mutual respect. The single man's moods were setting the terms for alliances that had once been treated as stable architecture. Flattery is not strategy. Europe's response was not resistance. It was submission dressed up as statecraft. The report says leaders tried to placate Trump with flattery and concessions on defense and trade, as if appeasement could be made respectable by using diplomatic language. It could not. Once leaders decide the best way to deal with coercion is to praise the coercer, they are no longer managing power. They are subsidizing it. The Belgian Prime Minister's warning that Europe risked becoming a miserable slave was cruder than the official language, but far more honest. They mistook access for control. The article's most revealing detail is not Trump's tantrum with the tablet, though that is worth noting. It is the underlying delusion among allied leaders that charm could mold him. They kept arriving with the same talking points as if repetition and personal chemistry could stabilize a presidency built on grievance and impulse. That was never realistic. The source shows leaders confusing proximity with leverage. They were in the room, but not in charge. They had access to Trump, not authority over him. Those are not the same thing, and pretending otherwise only made them easier to manipulate. The meltdown was the message. The Oval Office outburst, the technical frustration, the tossing of the device onto the floor. Those details are not comic relief. They are evidence. The meltdown was not a break from policy, it was policy in miniature. Chaos was the operating style, unpredictability was the pressure point. The point was to force everyone else into a permanent state of adjustment. European intelligence appears to have understood this better than the politicians did. Their warning about a single volatile individual should have ended the fantasy that normal alliance management still applied. Instead, too many leaders kept acting as though the problem was tone. The pattern beneath the panic. The larger pattern is familiar. Authoritarian politics does not require efficiency to dominate institutions. It requires weaker actors who keep misreading domination as negotiation. That is why this story matters. It is not about Trump's manners. It is about the willingness of allied elites to keep feeding a system that rewards submission and punishes clarity. The lesson is not that Europe should have tried harder to flatter him. The lesson is that personal rule destabilizes every institution it touches, and the people most likely to enable it are the ones who think they can finesse it. They cannot. Once politics becomes a contest of whims backed by state power, diplomacy built on politeness becomes a form of self-deception. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Arctic, thanks for listening.